Hi, I'm Corey. Welcome to Creating with Scraps. This is another Between the Projects video, and it's brought to you by my friend Lisa, who caused me to squirrel. And I had people after the last video ask me how that happens, how the squirrel takes place, or what causes it to occur. Other people are on team squirrel and they get it, they do it all the time, but others are like, I mean, they're being kind, but it's just like, how does that even happen? So I am here to show you exactly how that happens. Tracy caused me to squirrel and do it with her pay it forward. And so I started making my pay it forward. And I think it was this one that I started with. My pay it forward project, right? And you can see that it's expanded and blown up. And I'm not finished with this one, but I'm slowly working on finishing the pieces for the pay it forward, right? And I was going to do one. Well, that transitioned into, I had this scrap, and oh, that would be fun together. And then I don't even know where they all are. I had this scrap, and oh, look at this with the daffodil, and that was really pretty. And so I ended up making, I don't know, 8, 9, something like that, a whole bunch of these. And my project while Emmerich, my grandson, is asleep, was to finish those up. And then I was sewing this one. This one is mostly done, and it's, just same thing, just finishing up the pieces and the tucks and the inserts and all the little stuff that make it fun. And I just randomly grabbed some things, and this was going to go to a person with the initial S simply because that's what I grabbed. Well, when I was doing this, my friend Lisa showed me, I had the lace out and I was making a band, and it's a little bit different, but it's still the same idea, right? And Lisa was showing me belt buckles that she'd gotten. She went to Smart, which is a repurposed craft store in Nashville, and she showed me what she got, and she got some buckles. She found a great stash of belt buckles. And well, the scrap bin of my lace and the belt buckles that she got, these are old scrapbooking and all kinds of mishmash buckles, but it caused me to squirrel. It caused me to think, oh man, wouldn't that be cool as a closure? And has it been done before? I'm certain it has. Have I seen it on Pinterest or some other place? Well, probably, of course. But I had to do squirrel, and I had to do my take on them, just using the scrap bits. And they're kind of like a belly band closure. I mean, this one uses an actual buckle, and this one uses one of these clip rings. And my point was that you can do them with just about anything, and you can add beads or dangles if you choose to. But and it's, none of that's required, but it's a great way to use up scraps, and it's kind of fun. Like, oh, this one, I had way too much fun. I sewed a safety pin on this one, and then this one is more adjustable than some of the others, but you just close the safety pin, and there's a really fun scrap lace band to close. And this one is, I don't even know where these came from. They were just in my stash. A way to hold the journal closed. So rather than seeing, these are just a variety of the belt buckles used, I thought I'd show you really quick. Now, my desk is dirty because the way I adhere it is I use Fabri-Tac to get it started, and then I sew it, which is my sewing machine's on there. And it literally is just this quick. Grab a handful of scraps, right? Just seriously, just a handful of scraps. And then the way I do it is this will work. I try to find one that's one solid piece. I have a ton of scraps, but maybe this one's not quite long enough. Oh, this one's long enough. Okay, find one that's kind of a solid piece that you would. Oh, this one would work too, but that's really long. That would be for a really big book. Find a piece that looks kind of longish, at least as long as you need, and kind of solid. Like this one would work too for these little books. Yeah, you know what? Maybe we'll do that one just because it'll be shorter and smaller. And will it close? Yeah, it's still plenty big to close. All right, so you find a scrap, and this one might be a little bit wider than I need. So what I'm going to do is just cut it. This is not planned. And in fact, I'll show you the others. I find that I like them better when I just kind of go with it and I don't really plan them. And see, there you go. Now I have basis for 2 of them. Now I just put 2 of them together, right? And these are all just random scraps sewn together on somewhat of a base, and then with a closure. And that was one. And here is another. This one I had several of these punch out, or these little lace bits, and that's just a random bit of net. And I laid those together to make that closure. And this one, again, just some coffee dye, just scraps, and I had a little bit more of that net, so I used that as my background. And no, they're not for everybody, but boy, I tell you what, they're addictive and they're fun. So this one is a little bit smaller and thinner. You know, I had a little bit thinner strip, so that's where these guys come in. And then here is just, this one needs a dangle of some sort, so I'll probably put a couple little charms hanging off there just to kind of finish it off. But so fun and so addictive, and if your scrap lace bin is getting overflowing, this is what you can do. So what I do, and I don't put a ton on, I just put random bits of Fabri-Tac, and what'll happen is you'll get it on your work surface, and which is one of the reasons I like the Tim Holtz glass mat work surface, or whatever glass mat, because you can just put some hand sanitizer on there and it'll lift it right up. All right, so I've got my first piece. Do I like these together? Yeah, I do. Okay, and so I'll just start grabbing scraps that I think look, oh, I kind of like that. Maybe I'll cut this in half too and put that on there. The scraps that you think that you like, that look kind of good, that please your eye, I guess. I don't know how else to say it, but then, like I said, this is just pulled out of my bin, and maybe because there's people here watching and I'm on live, it's not live, but on camera, it's not exactly perfect, but oh, here we go. I want to use that one at some point because that's really kind of cool. And maybe I'll put this down right here, and maybe that right there. And let's see, that's a little wider than I want. Oh, that's really wide, but I can cut that. That's probably the same thing. Nope, that's a little too wide. I've used a lot of the thinner scraps on the other ones. Oh, that's really pretty. I'll just cut a little bit of that off. Maybe I'll follow that line a little bit. I don't even know if you can see it if I'm remotely in frame, but there's a little line in here that's layered on the lace, and so I'll cut around that, and that way I can get double duty out of this lace. I'll use that scrap for something else. Oh yeah, that's kind of pretty. That's really thick, so maybe I'll move this over like that, and maybe I'll put that here, and then maybe a little something to transition the two. Oh, I've got more lace and bits over here. I'll just grab something else. Something that'll sing to me. Oh, that's kind of pretty. It's a little big though. I'll use that on a different one because that is a little big. And then I just throw them back in my bin when I'm done. So, I mean, maybe you guys are seeing something like, oh, okay, there you go. You're like, Corey, grab that. Oh, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab that, and then I'm going to put just another light layer on. And I just don't put it everywhere because I'm going to sew this, and I sew it in 3 passes. Personal preference. And you know what? Shoot, I forgot to put my microphone on. I'm sorry. I kind of got sidetracked, and I was excited to share this and do this, and I completely forgot about my microphone. Okay. And does it need anything at the ends? Nope, I don't think so. I think I'm going to call that one good. And I'll do this one later. But yeah, I kind of like the way that looks. Just some layers and bits and pieces. And that one will be a little bit more simple one. But I don't really like... Oh, that's a great point. Like one of the other ones, I didn't love the way one of the pieces looked. So I just came back afterwards and added. You know, that's a nice thing about this when you're sewing these is you can come back and add something. Yeah, I don't really like that edge, so we'll go like that. And this one doesn't have as many cool layers, so maybe what I'll do is grab a thin piece of something just to add a little bit more. Oh, that's kind of fun. Maybe I'll cut that down and put that on top. Some of the others, 3 to 4 to 5 layers, just depending on how thin it is and what kind of a look you want. But well, I don't want it. You can do whatever you like. I don't want it too polished, I guess. I don't want it to be too matchy-matchy or symmetrical or too polished. I would rather have it, oh yeah, I like that. Just, you know, random little bits here and there. I mean, it kind of, well, maybe not, because it kind of hides those pretty roses, and I really like those pretty roses. So maybe just, I don't know. I didn't have this much trouble fussing with the others because probably I wasn't filming it. I just kind of laid it out and called it good. Do I like that? No, I'm just going to leave it like this. Oh, though, that's pretty cool. Do I want to put that in the back? Yeah, I like that. Okay. I think because I've got it so thin, I like this netty stuff in the back, and that's what I'm going to do. I will put it back there. Not straight, not perfect, or not even close. And we're going to call it good. All right. Now I'm going to turn on my sewing machine. Sorry, it's attached. And most of the time I'll start with a zigzag, and I'll make it not super wide, not super narrow, and I'll tuck things in as I go if I want to or need to. And I really like the way that looks with just that little bit of lace up at the back. I like the way that finishes it. So I'm going to start holding it down, and once it's mostly dry, I don't want to put this through my machine when the Fabri-Tac is wet, because that will gum up my machine, and that would be bad. All right. Again, I don't make it pristine or perfect or any of those things. Sorry, that at least I have the scissors on the glass. It's just way too loud. And I will go through and sew it on. And the beauty of all the layered lace like this is you don't really see the stitching. I'm just doing this to hold it in place so that it holds my journal closed. Could you make it longer and tie it in a bow? Sure. Could you use a button and a buttonhole? Sure. You know, that's the nice thing about this, is it doesn't really have to be any one thing. I just saw the belt buckles and thought, aha, I'm going to try it. And then just laying this underneath. It's kind of, and I used, actually on one of those, I used some of the bits from Flip, Slaps, and Folds journal that we made. I still have some scraps of that left, and I used some of the scraps on there. Okay, and I use a zigzag for the first. Do you have to? No, you can use straight stitch. You can use it all the way across. You can sew it by hand. If you're a person who loves to sew by hand, there you go. This would be a great project for that. All right, now I will save this scrap simply because I save small scraps, but I really like the way that looks. Now I just want to finish and make sure that the rest of it is adhered down. And I'll, you know what? I think this time I'll just do a straight stitch. If I've got narrow bits, like if I'm using real narrow lace, I'll use a zigzag over the top of it to make sure I get it all and get it in place. But with this one, this is pretty wide, and so a straight stitch will do the job. Okay, I've only done 2 passes, and normally I do 3, but this is a little bit wider than the other lace that I was using. I was using smaller bits on the others. So I think, like if you look back here, this will hold just fine, and that's the goal. The goal isn't just to stitch a lot, it's to hold everything in place. Okay, all right, I'll move the sewing machine out of the way. All right, and there you go. And then, like, here, I'll just use this kind of a belt buckle. I will... Then I'll wrap it. Oh, I shouldn't have turned the machine off. Shoot, I need to sew this on. I'll wrap it around like that. Well, that's the beauty of it. I can, you know what, that's really pretty. Maybe I'll just put this, oh, I like that. I'll just take this little bit of lace that was right here and lay it over the top. I just kind of like the way that looks. So I will do it. And I don't have any trouble with my machine. The thickness of the metal, I just make sure that I'm not going over that metal belt buckle. But if you need to, you can certainly sew it by hand. Maybe adjust the tension if that was needed. And I'll go back and forth a couple of times because it's fabric, and that's what you do. Okay. All right, and that held one side of this particular buckle on, and you can see I've got it down in the back and down in the front. Now, if I had if this was my last step and this was for a specific journal, the beauty of this particular style is you just bring it over and make it as wide or as narrow as you need. You know, you can make this fit whatever your journal needs. And because it's lace and that cotton lace, there's a little bit of stretch. So it's going to pull back and forth a little bit when I put it over my journal. But I haven't made the journal yet for this one. I don't have a particular journal in mind. I'm just going to make the band, and then what I'll do is I'll make a journal to fit this band because I can. But if I was doing it the other way, I would, you know, make it longer or shorter or basically whatever I needed for a specific journal. And I like the way that looks there. And then I'll do the same exact thing to this side. I'll sew it closed, avoiding again that metal bar. I just pull it to the side of the metal bar and it looks just fine. And sew it a few times, and that's it. I'm done. I would get a jump ring and maybe a charm or 2 or 3. I don't know, just depending on what it called for. And maybe I would wait until, you know, I could do is, you know, there's some of these, no, not that one. That one's just a tag. Though I could, old Making Memories, metal embellishment, but I have some of those with little hoops in them. And I could, you know, do the same thing and hang it down off the bottom, you know, with a bit of lace, tie it on the bottom, or use charms, or here we go, like these. I could use a jump ring, and maybe I'll do that in my heart. You know what? I'll add a jump ring and I'll add that, and that would be my finished belly band. Maybe I'll put a little tiny pearl or a colored gemstone dangle on it with it too, just to make it pretty. And that's how you do it. That's how Squirrel happens, and that's how you make these lace closure bands. Thank you for watching, and happy creating.